Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Meet Menaca to celebrate you. Today, I am so humbled and honored to have Kunbi Adeola speaking about 5 languages of love. What better time to speak about the 5 languages of love? We are just about to go into, or some parts of the world are already celebrating Valentine's Day. The month of February is about love, love, and more love. So here is to spreading love to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being in the platform. Just before we start, just some housekeeping. Please keep yourself muted unless until you are asked to unmute yourself to ask questions later. For the first 40 minutes, we will be having a question and answer between me and Kunbi Adeola, the guest speaker today. After that, you will be given an opportunity to ask questions. And then we would be going to after party or the Q&A and network after an hour. So those who are listening to us from Facebook, a warm welcome to you as well. Let me introduce the speaker. She is a charity co-founder, relationship mentor, event manager, life skills trainer, and a jewelry designer. I have witnessed myself her jewelries, and she makes beautiful jewelries for sure. Over to you, Kunbi. Thank you so much for being with us today. And it is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much, Menaca. I'm so pleased to be here. I'm excited. I'm excited about the month of love. I'm excited that Valentine's Day is tomorrow. And looking forward to share today with everybody.
You know, it's a pleasure to have you. And it is a topic everyone is so keen to listen to. Definitely, I'm sure I'm going to learn a thing or two about relationships and love. So can you enlighten us? What is the 5 languages of love and why do you like speaking about it?
Excellent. Well, I like to speak about love in general. Love is a universal language. So if you can speak the language of love, you'll get on fine anywhere in the world. It's a language that's communicated worldwide, even though we have different ways of communicating about love. However, the need to feel love is a primary human need for all human beings. And really it's a need that starts from when we are young. It's, we often experience love maybe in our homes, when our parents bring us up. They often train us about love. You normally learn about love right from your family, your parents. And so, because each person, of course, from parent to parent, these things differ from culture to culture. These things, the way you learn how to receive love and express love is different. So therefore, when you come into relationships, maybe later on in life, you come into relationships, then you have to learn how do you express love? How do you receive love? So the way one is different from the way another person expresses. And the way we all receive love is different. So that's how the love languages came about. It's not my concept, I must say that. The concept comes from Gary Chapman, who is a marriage counselor based in the United States. He's an American, and he's been counseling on relationships for over 30 years. And it's through his work that he discovered and really coined this term, the 5 love languages. And it's something that's really been helpful in counseling people. I myself have used it in my counseling, my mentoring of couples in their relationships. What he discovered and what I also find out is, you know, when we all come into our relationships, we often start with the in-love experience. We have that period where you meet somebody and we're all obsessed about each other. We feel such passionate love. We feel, you know, the other person is our world. You really feel you have that tingling feeling inside. So the in-love experience, though, has its time when it cools down. And that's when the real work of love really begins. And the 5 love languages concept, which Gary Chapman has put, I think is brilliant. And it's one that can help us. This is not the only thing, but it's a good tool that we can use to help us along the way of in our relationships. And the 5 love languages, which he coined for words of affirmation, quality time, there's receiving of gifts, there's acts of service, and there's physical touch. So they're just basically 5 ways in which we can either express our love to one another and ways in which we receive love from each other. So generally, that's what the 5 love languages are.
Sure. Thank you so much. I can't wait to know more about it. So I was doing some research about this, and I got to know in Egyptian culture, they have 7 different varieties of love. So, one is, of course, like you said, the passionate love, the love, nurturing love, and different. I'm no expert of this, so I'm not going to go into that. Going on from there, can I ask you, what are the advantages and how these 5 languages of love impact different relationships, in your opinion?
Okay, so I'll speak a little bit about each of them, and then we'll see how it is applied in a relationship setting. And when I say relationship, it's not just the romantic relationship. It's also a relationship with children, a relationship with our friends. And maybe, if you have a close relationship in your workplace, it's something that you may want to use. So even though we're speaking, we said that February is the month of love, we have Valentine's Day tomorrow, but it's a tool, it's a concept that goes beyond using it for romantic relationships. So the very first one I talked about was words of affirmation. Now, words have tremendous power. We all know that words have tremendous power. I don't know if you remember the nursery rhymes. There's a nursery rhyme that says, "Sticks and stones may break my bone, but words cannot hurt me." But over the years, we've seen that nursery rhyme is not really true. Words can hurt us. Words do hurt us. Words have tremendous power to either build up or pull down, depending on how we use them. So with words of affirmation, what we aim to do, if you have a partner whose love language is words of affirmation, then the best thing is to affirm them with words. You build them up with your words. You speak words that will, make them feel they'll be able to stand 10 feet taller from what you say to them. You're using positive words for them. You're saying to them, "You know what? You look great." It might be, "You look sharp in this suit." The guy stands up 10 feet taller. It might be the woman, "You look beautiful." It just brings, it makes that person feel nicer. It brings a warm feeling from them. So you have those positive words that you use. In words of affirmation, you also have encouraging words that you use. And encouraging ones are they're really important because they're words that give you courage. They speak into an area. If your partner has an area where they don't feel that secure, speaking words of encouragement, encouraging them to go along with what they do, goes a long way in helping them feel secure. It helps them feel reassured. It helps them feel good about themselves. Sometimes when you feel insecure and you want to do something new, that's all you need. You just need somebody to speak that word to you, and you feel less fearful. For example, you may have somebody who wants to start a business, maybe a partner that wants to start a business. Maybe 5 years ago, they started one that failed, So the person, the partner won't go in there and say, when they say to them, "Oh, I want to start a business," they're not going to say, "Oh, you started one 5 years ago, you failed at it. How come you're going there again?" But if you want to speak to them and encourage them, give them an encouraging word, they'll say, "You know what? Yes, 5 years ago, you've learned a lot. You can do it. You can make it. This time will work because you've learned from past experience." And that feels, and you'll tell them, "I've got your back. I'm with you. I'm here to help you." So encouraging words will speak to areas of insecurity within that person, and it helps them feel reassured. With affirmation as well, you speak kind words. Speak kind words to each other. It says love is patient, love is kind. So it speaks kind words. There are also words of affirmation that you can speak. You can speak humble words. They're words in where you may have a right in about something, but you let go of your right. You make a request instead rather than demand. Unfortunately, where you have people that demand in relationships, it can backfire and not really go well. So you want to speak in a requesting tone. You want to speak kind words. You want to speak encouraging words, positive words to the person and lift them up. So in a relationship, that's ways in which you can apply words of affirmation. So that's one of the love languages. If the person that you're with that's their love language, that's what you really need to try and do. Mm-hmm. Some people say, you know what, I may not know how to speak it. I say to people, you learn it. You know, these are things that you learn. I say to people, you learn new things every day. If that's your partner's love language, then my friend, then you really do need to learn it. Okay, so going on to the next one. Next one is quality time. Quality time. If your partner's love language or your family, your nearest and dearest, if their love language is quality time, that means they receive love. They feel loved when you spend time with them. And when you spend time with people, you are giving them your undivided attention. You're saying, I care about you. I'm spending time with you. You give them your undivided attention by spending quality time with them. And when I say undivided attention, I really do mean undivided. Because, you know, sometimes, especially now that we have all sorts of distractions around us, we've got the phone, you've got so many things, you have social media. So for somebody whose love language is quality time, what they're seeking from you, what they want from you is for you to, you know, be intentional in being present in the moment with them. So you're actually physically present in the moment. Your attention is not diluted. Your attention is not distracted. You can't say you're giving them quality time by reading paper and they speaking to you. No, your attention is diluted. You cannot be looking at your mobile phone and say you give them your undivided attention. No, that's divided. So somebody whose love language is quality time, you have got to give them your undivided attention so they feel loved. That's how they receive love. And I also say, I'll go further by saying that when that's your love language, then you also have to have quality conversations. If somebody's giving you their undivided attention, it's not so that you can, you know, chit chat or gossip about something. No, it's a time for that person to express their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, and their desires. So quality time means quality conversations. And that's what the quality time love language means. Move on quickly to the third one. That's the receiving of gifts. If your partner's love language is receiving gifts, that means they feel loved when you give them things. They feel loved. And, you know, sometimes you may think that sounds a bit materialistic. No, it doesn't have to be an expensive gift. It can be something simple. It can be something handmade. It can be flowers. It can be baking them a cake. But when you give them something, it's they think you thought about me. It's about the thought behind that gift. It's about you thought about me and brought me a gift. So in a relationship, it might be the birthdays. You give them a gift at their birthdays. Somebody whose primary love language is love will feel, oh, he loves me. Anniversaries, when we first got together, when we did this, give them a gift. Maybe you go away from home, you're coming back home. You're, I don't know, in the airport, you buy a souvenir, you think of them and you buy them a gift. So that person will be thinking, oh, my partner thought about me and bought me this gift. So if your love language is really about receiving gifts, it's not so much the gift. I mean, obviously the gift is important, but it's more about you thought about me and bought me a gift. So that's how that works.
Thank you so much, Kunbi. Thank you. So we definitely learned a lot about the languages of love.
Yes.
Listening to you, I have to ask this question. So as far as I understand, everybody has a primary language of love, which they communicate with other people and they receive and they express. Can someone have more than one language of love?
Absolutely. Well, you have your primary one. So your primary one is the one that matters most to you, the one that makes you feel most loved out of all five of them. But you can also have the secondary love language. Maybe there are things that, okay, when the person does the one that's primary to you, when you don't receive that, of course, after a while, you start not feeling love. But there's also secondary ones. And even out of the others, there are five of them. You can also, from time to time, pepper the relationship with different languages. So it's not just the one that you can do. There are different times where different ones may be appropriate.
Sure. Thank you. So it's not monotonous, it's a bit more interesting, right? We were taught leaders are born, and now we know that that's a skill you can actually develop. Like that, is the languages of love is something but we can learn and adapt, or is something we primarily have it within us?
No, absolutely. It's something we can learn. As I said, because we all learn about love from different sources, from our parents. Many of us tend to love how our parents, how we experience it with our parents, or maybe other forces, our family, other forces in society. But if you are now getting to a relationship and you begin to discover that your partner receives love a different way, and they express to you that this is what I need, then you begin to learn. And learning is really taking small steps. Initially, you take small steps so that you don't feel overwhelmed. For example, the partner whose love language is acts of service, that's you do things for them. Maybe, well, of course, in traditional families, we have the stereotypes where the man before, I mean, not so much now. So please hear me, feminists hear me. Sometimes we hear that the man doesn't really do housework, and it's the woman that keeps the home. These are stereotypes that no longer hold anyway. But if that's the woman's love language, the woman's love language is I want help with the household chores, then the man might say, you know what, I never did household, my mother didn't raise me that way. But hey, if that's your love language, you're going to feel loved that way, I will start to learn. So maybe it's vacuuming the floors. Pick up the vacuum cleaner and begin to start to vacuum. Maybe it's cooking. He can start to learn simple recipes that he can use in the family and begin to do that in the relationship. So you can learn it. You don't have to be overwhelmed. You can start taking little steps, but it's about really wanting to, because you love that person. You want to be able to express love in the person, the way that person needs to be loved. So you make the effort to learn.
Sure. Thank you, Kunbi. I'm sure we all are now waiting to experiment the languages of love when we go back home tonight. Can you tell us, one doesn't know what is their primary language of love, or they don't know their loved one's primary language of love? Is there a way they can find out, explore, and learn?
Absolutely. Well, what was discovered is that we normally, our primary love language will be really how we express love. So for example, if I like to give gifts, yes? So really, I'm actually expressing it in a way that I will also receive it, because I love to give gifts. It may not be your primary language, but each time I buy you a gift, each time, do this, I buy you a gift, then it's an indication that may be my primary love language, because that's how I'm expressing love. So that's really one way of finding out. Look at what you normally do to people. How is it that you express love to people? There may be a clue in there, and that's your primary love language. So another way is Gary Chapman, the guy who wrote the book, he also has a quiz, so which people can find out on the 5lovelanguages.com /quiz. I'll put it in the chat later, where you can actually do a quiz. It has 30 questions, and you can begin to find out your own primary love language that way.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. I'm sure a lot of people are going to dive into it and see what they can learn. So other than the quiz, is there anything else they can learn about these 5 languages love a bit further? Because I know it's a short duration we have. So if we want to explore and learn a bit more of these 5 languages love, is there resources around there where they can read a book or go somewhere and have a look at these things?
Absolutely. Well, the 5 Love Languages is a book which you can buy. It's a book that sold 13 million copies worldwide, and it's also been translated into 50 languages. So it's a really, really popular resource. It's been around for a long time. So if you go into Amazon, Google it, you'll find somewhere where you can either buy the book or read a little bit more about it. That's what I say. You will find if you're determined to get it.
So thank you so much, Kunbi. We have learned a lot about this language of love, and I'm sure you have enlightened us about these languages of love for us to go on and demonstrate for whoever we want to demonstrate on, and also know about us. I think is the first thing, isn't it? We have to know about what is important for us and what is our primary language of love, and then I think it becomes easier to explore and understand others. I think it always starts from inside out, right? So I'm sure we are all are going to go and dive into it. Can you share some wisdom around this area of languages of love and expand on it, how it comes into play in general?
Sure, sure. You see, with the love language, we always say love is a choice. And when you choose to love your partner, then that you've made that choice. Now, with that, it also means that work. Remember, I said when we all come into relationships through the in-love experience, but when that cools down, that's when the real work of really keeping ourselves, keeping our marriage, keeping our love works. So the wisdom I would say is that, it will cost you something. Your time, your efforts that you put into the relationship. These are some of the things. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to sacrifice. For example, he was asking me if one can learn it. That other person, that partner, must be willing to learn it. And then they must be willing to do it. For example, when we say somebody's love language is quality time, there's some people who say, you know what, I work so long, I don't have time to really sit with you. But in that situation, you need to make time. You will need to make time. So these things that we're talking about, they are sacrificial. They are things that you want to do to help the other person feel love. And also, and I always say to people, when you invest in your relationship, when you invest in the other person, you're really actually investing in yourself, because you will get a return on your investment. It's been shown time and time and time again that when you put yourself out, you sacrifice for the other person, you communicate in a way that they can receive it, then you begin to see changes in the other person. Where they may not have been responsive, they begin to respond. Where they have been shrunk before, they begin to blossom. And that reflects on you, it reflects on the marriage. The marriage begins to thrive. Both of you begin to look happier. So the effect on the marriage is tremendous. It has a power to really, really shape your experience in the marriage. I mean, or a relationship. Our relationships, they're for the long term. If you're in a relationship for the long term, who doesn't want to be happy? You want to be happy. You want a happy partner. You don't want to come home and everybody's miserable. So really, really practicing this helps the home environment. If you've got children in that environment, think what it does to them. So really, it helps the marriage, the relationship, whether it's a relationship with marriage, whether it's family, it helps them thrive. The atmosphere thrives, even with children. When you're able to express love to them in a way that they can receive it, it helps children blossom. They feel secure. And, unfortunately, there's so many things around the world that we hear now, especially now, children have had a tough time. Teenagers, young people in general have had a tough time. So when we can reach out to them in a language, in a love language that they can understand, they can receive our love, it makes them feel more comfortable, more valued, more secure in themselves and in the world. So I find that really, really working on these love languages will really reap benefits for people who go down that way, wanting to explore it.
Thank you so much, Kunbi. So I think the 5 languages of love is important. It is worthwhile investing your time and effort to understand it. However, it's not the be all and end all. It is only a beginning of the investment of time and energy and language of love. And I think there's more to it. Would you agree?
Absolutely. There's so much more to it. But that is a way in which you can begin to just help and break down, especially where maybe marriages may have, or a relationship may have broken down, where maybe there are walls or barriers that have been put up. These are things that you can embark on immediately to begin to use. And then from there, you move on to other things that you can work. You see, when you break down the initial barriers, it helps you to now begin to look at the other things. But if you never broke down the barriers, you may never even get beyond. You may never get beyond the initial things, or the person being in a place to even begin to work on any other issues.
Thank you so much, Kunbi. We all have learned, I'm sure the audience learned a lot about love, particularly it's a great timing. Guys, you know what to do tomorrow with Valentine's Day, celebrate in style by learning the language of love. Any parting words and sharing wisdom for you?
Well, my wisdom is just to, if you are in that situation where, you know what, you just want to enhance, it may not be that your relationship is broken down, but maybe you're just looking for things that will enhance the relationship. It's worth exploring. Look at your partner. How are they receiving love? Can you speak words of affirmation to them? Can you be more positive in your language with them? Can you be less critical? Maybe it's a case where you want to give them more of your time. You know, when we all come to especially, I looked at the time at the height of COVID, when so many people were losing their lives, when people were separated from their families. One thing they valued was, I want to spend time with my loved ones. So it's a time for us that maybe we can also assess ourselves and see, are we spending quality time with our loved ones? Are we giving them our attention? So these things are important. Are we doing things that make them feel happy? Are we speaking words into their lives? Are we, being loving? Are we hugging, touching, patting, whatever it is that communicates love to that person? So I would just say, let us just spend more time. Love is a universal language. It's patient, it's kind, and sometimes it's sacrificial. So just examine more of that and see how we can just be better lovers.
Thank you so much, Kunbi. We learned a lot about love, and happy Valentine's Day once again for everybody who is listening. Before I ask Kirbe to give the vote of thanks, let me introduce the next topic for the next week. We are going to be speaking about, do cross-cultural marriages work? And the speakers are Balasundaram Muralidharan and Kirbe Kohut. I cannot wait to explore another subject, may it be controversial or not. I am so looking forward to listening and learning from these two people who have successful marriages with intercultural relationships. Please remain on the show. We are going to be allowing everyone to ask questions to the speaker after the vote of thanks. And as I said before, after we finish the Facebook Live, we will still be on board to ask questions from the speaker. Over to you, Kirbe, for the vote of thanks, please.
Thank you very much, Kunbi. Thank you, our viewers from Facebook and all those on this platform. Welcome to all those who are joining us newly this time, and we'd like to warmly welcome you. And Kunbi and I go back a long way. When I moved to this country 11 years ago, she was one of those first people who reached out to me and extended her friendship. And she and her husband are very close to me, and I'm very happy to have her today. And thank you for the 5 languages of love. Kunbi embodies a couple of things that's to me, and I would like to share this. K stands for kindness. U stands for uniqueness. N stands for she is a neat, very neat, and her love, the way she does her jewelry, very neat. And B is a very balanced person who brings balance to a lot of people she counsels. And I stands for impeccable. Kunbi, we love you, especially myself and Robert, we love you. And thank you once again.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so thoroughly blessed by that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Kunbi, for a lovely insight about the 5 languages now. Now it's time for people to ask questions. The first question to you is, would all these be contradictory to the unconditional love?
I don't think they're contradictory, to be honest. It's unconditional love is also something that can be challenging to practice. As I said, we all have that need. Everybody has that need to feel love. So we also cannot ignore the human need for love, to give it and to receive it. So I don't think it's contradictory. It'll just be a way to help each other to just receive love better.
Kumbi, is it fair to say that it would be accessory for unconditional love rather than contradictory? Is it safe to say that? And it is like knowing personalities in relationships, or it's knowing personality matters in an organization. We don't see personality because we don't want to nurture them. We see the personality, how we can enhance the relationship or enhance the working environment. Is that fair to say, Kumbi?
I would say it's complementary, because you see, unconditional love is the higher thing that we may all aspire to. But on the way to getting there, these are things that will help us on our way, in our journey, to break down things, as I said, to help us get to that place of maybe where it comes a time where we don't need some of these things, and you can get there. I think that it can work well in that way.
Sure. Thank you so much. And the next one is, it's great to know the 5 languages of love. So when do you think is a good age or a good time for people to be introduced to the 5 languages of love?
Well, I would say that from when they're young, when people are children, the parents can begin to help them, or family members can begin to help them identify their way of love. I mean, at least you begin to see the child that comes, that runs to you and wants to be carried. But many children want to do that anyway. They have that need to have that physical touch. So the people who needs words of encouragement, to begin to see, oh, you know what, my child responds well when I encourage him. So from there, you, the parent, will begin to see, and you begin to help that child identify. The earlier they can, the better they know themselves. You know, I talk a lot about self-awareness. And when we're aware of ourselves, we're a bit more secure in who we are. We know who we are. We know how we feel. And I say, definitely, maybe from the age of 4, you can start, because then they're a bit more aware of what you're trying to teach them.
Thank you, Kumbi, because as I said, I did a bit of reading around this topic. And of course, Aristotle says self-awareness is the first step to wisdom, and, you know, and acceptance, and all these things come into play. And, you know, like, for example, am I right to say that if your child blossoms when you give a hug or a kiss to a child, and which means, you know, that is their primary language of love? Is it fair to say, or do you think you have to explore a bit further?
Well, it's fair to say that if they respond to it, yes, that could be. So it's just to note it, and then to continue to help them identify what else may be their primary love. I mean, there are 5 of them, so no need to really conclude early on. So just explore what else could be that they respond to.
I've got a question.
Yeah, of course, feel free.
You said, Kunbi, you said that, you know, it's good to start a child very young in these languages of love. Sometimes when we come from different cultures, I think it's a little difficult for us to embark in something like this. Is there any cultural barriers to this?
Great question, Cuba. I come from a background as well where, you know, maybe love wasn't shown, wasn't expressed as freely as it's expressed here in the UK where I am. And yes, there can be cultural barriers to the way in which you express love. I sort of I can't say it's a research, but I've noticed that some people who come from foreign backgrounds, maybe Africa, which I can certainly talk about, that's my background, may not be as expressive with love, simply because maybe in the home, they didn't witness such expression of love. They didn't witness, you know, all the huggy, feely kind of love that you get from maybe parents in the West. So yes, sometimes cultural barrier can be, culture can be a barrier to how we express that love. But it doesn't mean to say we cannot learn. You know, we don't have to be a product of our cultures forever. If you're no longer in that culture, or if you know that times have moved on, you can also begin to learn how to say. As I said, when I grew up, we weren't really encouraged to talk so much about your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. But after a while, living here, I've learned how to express my thoughts I've learned how to express my emotions and my feelings to my partner, to my husband.
Thank you so much, Kunbi. It's really interesting. Thank you for asking the question, Kirbe, because I was reading up. I can't really remember exactly where I read, but I read this. There was a research. There are psychologists and psychiatrists on board. So later on, maybe they can confirm it or challenge it. I read this that there was a study done, and there were three. I think it was to do with postpartum depression patients. They had three different groups, and one group was given antidepressants. The other group was given placebos, and the third group was told, the partners or spouses or loved ones were told to at least give them a hug or cuddle or touch the touchy-feely, as you said, for at least 5 minutes a day. And after a few days, they all went back. Actually, the happiness level had, or the mental well-being has improved in this group who the spouses or partners were touchy-feely, and shown that demonstrated that it does make a huge difference. And what was really interesting for me when I read that was it was slightly higher than even the group of antidepressants. But please don't quote me on this. I don't know exactly the size of sample and what to that extent, because this is not my area of expertise. I just read this out of interest. At the end of the study saying that for people who smile, if you are really in distress and if you smile, after 4 minutes, apparently the sadness center in the brain switches off. This really section of the brain, it works for well-being, is enhanced. So these things are always interesting to know. So the next question to you, Kunbi, from the audience is, if love happens to be one-sided, how do you deal with that to get through the other party on the same wavelength? So I think it is really important question. It's a very valid question to ask. So the question is, I guess, my interpretation is either your languages of love is not getting through to that person, or it is something else. So you are the expert. I'm going to put you the question to answer.
I like that. Well, I wouldn't really describe. I'm still a student. I think you always remain a student of love, no matter how many years, because everybody's relationship can be better. That's the honest truth. So when love is one-sided, that's a tough place to be in. And if anybody's in that situation, what I would advise is to be patient and let patience reign. You continue to express love towards that person, express it in the way that they can receive it, because you're loving them. Are you loving them in the way that it's communicating to that person? Are you communicating that love in the way the person can receive it? And watch that first. And then from there, you begin to say, okay, you know what, give it some time. I would say give it 6 months, give it a year, where you are continually expressing love to that person. And if the other person is, then watch them. Are they responding to any of these things that you're doing? After 6 months, after 1 year, look at how the response is. Even though, as I said, it's a real tough situation to be in.
Until I get the next question, can I ask you, do you think is there a place where the languages of love, or a version of that, should be taught in either schools or communities or in societies, do you think?
I'm a student of, I'm always keen to learn, to be honest. And I think, yes, it could be. Maybe in, if you have people are going into a relationship, sometimes I know with people who go into marriage, there's some societies where they have like premarital classes. And also when people are looking to embark on maybe a long-term relationship, they can also begin to look at, you know what, I really want this relationship to work. I want it to thrive. I'm looking to learn. So it's something that, yes, they can learn for themselves. Certainly, I consider it a life skill to be able to have the right interpersonal relationships. As I said, you see that I do life skills training. That's one of the things that I touch on, interpersonal relationships. And through in that, where we learn that skill to relate to other people, you have, in different scenarios, the relationship, the romantic relationship is really one of those places where, yes, I really strongly believe it's something that needs to be taught. Now, I know that, where a lot of people have academics, you can't really, and then the academic curriculum is so, I don't know, so stretched now. So you can't really not operate in the academic curriculum, but maybe the extracurriculum ones, you can incorporate that skill of interpersonal, developing your interpersonal relationship skills. For sure.
Yeah, thank you, Kunbi, because we all chase academic success, academic careers, and then of course most of us at one point or the other then embark on relationships, and there's no rule book to it, right? So we learn on the job, as they call it. Parenting and relationship are two things I think we learn on the job. So I guess there is a point, and to make some effort and time into it and invest into it.
Absolutely. As I always said, some of these things that we learn, I mean, I can certainly say for myself, a lot of things I learned is fantastic, great things. But you know what? It's those skills, those life skills, soft skills that has served me more in life. So what you ask is really, really valid. Relationship, is it worth it? Absolutely. It's somewhere you can be the long term. It's something you want to work. And it's, as I said, it's a feeling love and being loved is a primary human need for to have your emotional needs met. So a really, really important skill sets to have.
When the questions come, it will be flooded. They will all ask the question at the same time.
Yes, well, maybe some of them want to ask questions. Maybe they want to answer questions. They could put it in the chat. I got questions to ask. Do people know what their love language is? That's a good thing.
Course.
You know who your love language is. They can put it in the chat. People who know what their love language is, put it in the chat. Let's have a conversation.
Of course. How do you know your spouse or your loved one's love languages, or even your child's love languages?
Absolutely. Or even your own. How do you receive love? How do you, what would your partner do to you that will make you feel loved? Is it cook you a meal? Is it clean? What is it that makes you feel most loved?
Yeah, I mean, it's really strange, isn't it? I read this book from Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus quite a few years back. I think it's time to dust that book and read again. But it was very insightful to read. Like you say, it is like we like coffees, we like chatting, and some genders prefer to have that pint and speak about football or hockey or cricket or even golf. So it varies from one person to person. So it's really, really and someone says it's cooking and sharing. Of course, Dr. Bala, please come aboard and ask a question.
Mic off, yes. Yeah. Sometimes I see that some people, they express their love by providing to the family, by protecting the family, and feel a bit shy about saying, I love you, or give a hug. This is more prevalent among the males. I don't know whether it is due to an evolutionary thing, hunter-gatherer man, the man went around gathering things and bringing home, the mother looks after the children and the family. So I have seen among the males that that is also one way of expressing love. And both these male and female of the species, understanding there are different ways people express love. Not only you expect the partner to understand, you have to try to understand what your partner's love language is. Any comment, please?
Absolutely. And what you said is also very, very, it's one of the things that sometimes the tradition and maybe our cultures also has a bearing about, where we have the stereotypes that the man is the provider, and the man also, when they step into the role, they're the primary provider of the home, and believe that because you're providing, that's an expression of your love. And in cultures where that is understood, absolutely, the person that's on the receiving end will feel loved. Oh, my partner is taking care of me, is the head of the home, and they will speak to them. But if, for example, that person didn't receive love that way, that's when you now have to look at other things that you need to do. So because you're providing, that could fall under the receiving of gifts. You're providing for the family, you're taking care of their needs. So that could fall under that. And the partner who also understands the same culture or the same tradition, that, you know what, my role in the home is to really be the homemaker, while the partner goes out to work, the husband, the male partner goes out to work to provide for our family and is doing such a brilliant job that the person at home feels loved. But in that same role, though, I also believe that sometimes, after maybe the woman at home has been there for a long time, they may begin to think, what, does he really appreciate me? Does he really say? So that person that goes out to work will come back and also have words of affirmation. They may say, you know what, we cooked a lovely meal today. Thank you so much for taking care of the meal. Thank you so much for looking after the children. You've created a beautiful home for us. These are all things that will help the person that stays at home really feel good about themselves and feel loved. They feel that's words of affirmation that you give to the person, and it helps them feel loved. You will see them begin to rise and thrive and feel so much good. And even if you say, especially if you say it even in front of other people, they be thinking, oh, wow, he's paid me compliments in front of my family, in front of my community, and it really helps people feel good. So that is something you may want to add to what you're doing already.
Thank you, Kunbi. Thank you, Dr. Bala, for asking the question. Actually, when I was reading about the 5 languages of love, it raised the same question. And so the answer was, it is about going further afield a bit, because in some cultures, the people, if you tell them, it is not accepted or they don't receive it well, a compliment. Whereas if you tell the third person about them in a positive way, that is seen as making an effort, and that is seen as the language of love. So, I think it was really interesting for me to read about it, because it's like cultural variations and how different genders, different cultures, different backgrounds, it all comes into play when
different generations. Different generations, younger people now, some of them share these things. They don't have such, traditional, you provide for the family, I stay at home. These days, both man and wife go, male and female go to work.
Yes, Dr. Bala, do you have?
And sometimes there'll be in the modern societies, there's a reversal of role. The woman may be the one who is going and bringing things to providing. So the man has to get adjusted to making a home, and that has to be adjusted as well. The man should feel comfortable about it, and the women should be able to accept it. Okay, you are the home provider, and I'm the main earner. It's happening in the younger generation in this country.
Absolutely. Great point. Absolutely.
Sure. I think it is not, designating roles for any gender, and going and adapting to the environment and circumstances and making the most of it wherever you are. I guess is that correct, Dr. Bala?
Yeah. And talking about unconditional love, I have noticed unconditional love with the parents and children. Whatever they do, the parents, especially the mother, is there for them. So that's a good example of unconditional love. They say, I come from Christian background. If you want to know how the love of God is to the human being, it is how the parents love the children. So that's the closest to it. So there is some truth, I feel. The unconditional love goes to the children, not to the partners.
Fantastic point. It's true. We're more allowant and tolerant from the children than from the partner. Absolutely. It's a great point.
After all, blood is thicker than water. Yeah, that's what it is, I guess. I'm lucky. It is Dr. Bala's words and not mine. Thank you so much for everyone. People who are on the Zoom platform, please remain here. You will be given more time to network and ask questions to Kunbi and have a discussion. For people who are listening to us on Facebook, it's time to say goodbye. Until next Saturday to speak about does cross-cultural marriages work? Two people who have had at least a decade of successful marriage will be coming and telling us the insights and the recipes of successful marriage in an intercultural or cross-cultural environment. Until then, be safe, stay happy, and keep smiling.